Welcome to the beautiful Norwegian Fjords. It's almost like I was actually there. And today I am going to give you a little tour of my Norwegian sketchbook. My name is Sarah. Welcome to my channel, Sarah Humphrey Creates, my little companion channel, if you like, to Sarah Humphrey Embroidery. And this is my place where I can have a little bit of a play and an experiment and try a few things that are not necessarily suitable for the other channel, but things that I love doing and I love exploring, and I want to share those with you. So let me give you a little backdrop to this video today. So recently Jonathan and I went on a cruise. A beautiful, beautiful cruise to the Norwegian Fjords, and I took a little sketchbook with me. Now, I normally like to take a sketchbook when I go on holiday, but I often come back with it more empty than full. I find it quite difficult to fill a sketchbook. You're on holiday and you're with somebody, and if you want to sit and paint, it actually takes quite a lot of time and you need a very patient other half to do that, and you want to do other things because there's so much to see. So I decided I'd have a bit of a different approach for this holiday, and I really wanted to capture it. We've been talking about it for a couple of years, doing this tour actually, so it was really important. This holiday, we've been looking forward to it for so long, and I wanted to capture it. So I thought what I would do is I would plan my sketchbook first, so I would prepare it, if you like, first, and plan what I was going to do in it and what I could do in it, bearing in mind that I might not have a lot of time to actually work in it. And in fact, I did come home and work on it quite a bit at home. So I'm going to show you through the sketchbook and just show you what I've done in it artistically wise, and also how I have made it and how I came to make it the way that I did. So here it is. Now I've got some stitching on the front. I'm actually going to come to the stitching at the end. I'm going to show you at the end because that was the last bit I did. So I'm just going to take off the little tie, that bit of silk there, and show you the book. Now, as I said, I'm going to show you the book cover afterwards. I'm actually going to take that off because I want to show you what's underneath. Let's get it off. Put that there so we can come back to that. So the format was really important for this one. I had seen this size that somebody else had done for a sketchbook, and I really liked this format, and I tried everywhere to get a book that was this shape. I could get one that was long and thin but was that way, but I wanted it to be this way, and I could not find one, so I made one myself from one of these. This is a dirt cheap book. They came in a pack of 5. It's got plain pages in it, and it's spiral bound. And they were all this size, so fairly standard size. So what I've actually done is just cut it down, put that on there, and I just cut the spine. I cut the cover off with a knife and made all that nice and neat and tidy, but the pages I've actually ripped. I just put a ruler on and ripped it and made a kind of quite a nice decal edge for it, and it had this format. Why did I want this format, you will ask? I don't really know. It just appealed to me, and I thought this size is suddenly, even though it's only that much extra, is quite a lot more to actually work on, and it was a bit intimidating, and I liked this size. It meant I could turn it the other way and paint some landscapes, which I envisioned myself doing. So that was all that I did to get the size. And then, because it is a bit cheap and cheerful, I've had to make some modifications to it. So I had to put some corners on it. It got quite bashed, not surprisingly, carrying it around everywhere. So I've just put some little bits on to stiffen the corner, little bits of cardboard, and that's just stiffened those corners. And the pages are quite flimsy as well. The paper is not good paper to paint on, but I have a little magic bottle of paint that I'm going to show you shortly, which makes it possible for me to paint on the pages. But I'm going to go through a few of them first, and then I'll talk about that. So right at the beginning, I've got a little folder in here. Now these, you can see the edges of it there. These are what knives and forks come in when you go to the restaurant these days, left over from the pandemic when they put them in there so they didn't have to touch the cutlery. So I collect them. I immediately whip the knife and fork out of them, and I stuff the bit in my bag, and I've got quite a few of these, but they make really good pockets, so I've just glued that in the front of the book. I slit it down the side there so I can get things in it. And as I mentioned, I wanted to plan a little bit how I did this book before I went, so that I wasn't faced with all these blank pages and didn't do any, and just bought the book right without anything in it. So I had a few ideas that I wanted to do, so I've actually put slow stitching on there. Drawing, landscapes, colour swatches, maps, lists, tickets, words, photos, cruise bingo. itineraries, colour notes, cuisine and I Spy. And I just thought it doesn't all have to be beautiful painted things. I'm trying to capture my holiday and capture the experiences of the holiday. So we could do that in all of those ways. And I thought if I can just look at that while I'm out there and I'm thinking a bit stuck, what can I do? I've only got a few minutes, I can do one of these things quite quickly. And I thought if I leave that in there, then that will remind me. I'd also thought very carefully about the list of materials that I took. It's easy to bung everything in and try and take everything, and you don't use half of it and you bring most of it back again. So I do think ages when I'm going anywhere what I'm going to take with me, and this is a list of the things I took, quite carefully thought about, and I thought realistically, am I going to do any sewing? I'd got slow stitching on my list, thought that'd be great, but I thought that takes even longer than it does to paint something. So even though I put fabric, needles and pins and threads and scissors, when I actually packed I thought that's ridiculous, I'm not going to do it. I'm going to take those off the list. So I didn't actually take those with me, but I have done some in the book which you'll see shortly. And then you can just put little things in your pocket. So we got a little pocket guide to the ship. We went on a Fred Olsen cruise. Absolutely amazing, by the way. Couldn't fault them. Definitely go with them again. And they give you a little pocket map of the ship and where you are on the ship. Some useful telephone numbers on there. And I just thought I'll keep that in there. Nice little record of the ship that we went on. So on the first page I've put what cruise it was, summertime Norwegian Fjords, the dates that we went, and I've painted a little Norwegian flag here. Now as I mentioned, I can't actually paint on this paper, it's not nice paper to paint on. So what I've done here is I've stuck a little piece of paper in, and I took some of these with me. So this is cardi paper, so this is a cotton rag paper, and you can paint on this, and it's just little sheets of it. And I just took some of these with me and I stuck some in the book and I painted on some of them. And as you'll see, I've stuck some photographs on them as well. So if you wanted an instant surface to paint on and you have got a book that's not great for painting on, just put some little bits of paper in. So those are nice watercolour papers. So I painted the Norwegian flag, and these little chappies crop up everywhere. Norway is full of trolls. They go big on the whole troll thing. So you don't have to go far before you see a little troll. And I'm going to show you how I put him in a little bit later as well. So there's a little map of where we went. So cut that out. Well, actually, I got that off the internet, printed off the internet. So we left from Newcastle, not too far from where we are, about down here. Drove up to Newcastle, headed across to Norway, and we went in and out all of these fjords and all around this part of the coast, and then back across the North Sea. So there's a little map of where we went. The cruise line, the ship we were on, the tour and the room number. Just a nice little memory. And then we get to the first painting. So I'm going to swizzle this round. And as I mentioned, you can't paint on this. So what I have got is some of this. So this is a Schminke brand. There are other brands. Daniel Smith do one as well. And this is an aqua ground transparent. It says watercolour ground. So it's supposed to make the paper turn into watercolour paper. Now it doesn't do that. It doesn't feel anything like watercolour paper. If you're used to painting on watercolour paper, it does not feel like this, but it does mean that you can paint on the pages of it, and you can apply lots of wet art material and it won't go through the rubbish paper. So this is brilliant. So I painted quite a few pages with this aqua ground, and I've done that here. So I've actually put a strip on here. Now this is a strip that I ripped off the bottom and I stuck it on top, and I painted it with the aqua ground, and I've actually written on the pages that I have put the aqua ground on as well, so I could remember when I got there what I could paint on and what I couldn't paint on before I had a disaster. And I've just done a very loose quick sketch and a few paints, a few paint colours on here and a little bit of pen as well, and I just put entering Lisa Fjord, which is the first fjord we went into. So that's my first fjord painting. So I also like to keep a little diary. It's really not an interesting diary. I don't care if you read this. It's not very juicy. But I do forget what we did, and I have found that we've come back since and talked about it and reminisced about it. What did we do on that day, and when did we go and do that? And I've got it written down because we do a lot of stuff in our lives and it's hard to remember it all. So I keep a little diary of what we did and where we went for each day, and then I've tried to put a few photographs in. Now these little photographs, I'm going to show you this, were printed on this little mini printer, and I ummed and ahed about one of these for ages. It wasn't particularly cheap, and the prints aren't particularly cheap. They come out just under about 50p each, and I can get them printed for free when I get home, but I thought it's nice to do it when you're actually there You can connect this up to your phone. You can print them off. They come out the end. Paper goes in there. Connect it up, print it, and it comes out the end here. It's a little one. One of my pussycat. And it comes out the end there, and it's a clever ink. It's I can't remember what they call it now, but it's not like an ink. It's a heat sensitive thing, and so it doesn't dry. If you like, it comes out and you can instantly use it. It's usable, and you can peel off the back. It's a little sticker, and you can stick it in your book. And just being able to do that when I was actually there made it a lot easier to do, and I could sort of react to, oh, it'd be really nice if I had a picture of that at the time, and I put a picture in it. I could print them when I got home and stick them in afterwards, but the print sizes are usually a lot bigger, and I thought it was quite nice to actually do it in situ and put them in at the time. So I did treat myself to one of those, mainly because a friend had one and she said, oh, it's really good. That persuaded me. So that's how the little stickers are in, and that's how he comes to be in as well. I've just cut him out and stuck him in. So quite a nice little gadget, a little bit of a indulgence really. But this is Jonathan and I having our first cocktail on the back of the ship just before we left. That's the ship in the background. Now these aren't in any particular order because I pre-prepared some pages. I didn't know what I was going to paint or what I was going to do in the book necessarily, so they do hop around a bit. But this is Hardanger Fjord. Those of you who follow me from my embroidery channel will have seen my videos on Hardanger embroidery. This is the area it comes from. It's not a town, it's a region of Norway, and it's one of the longest fjords in the world. I think it's the third longest fjord in the world. So this is another little quick painting of that. Again, I've marked aqua ground, and the other thing I've done is stuck 2 pages together to make my paper a bit thicker. It's really flimsy paper, so I stuck 2 of them together and I painted it with the aqua ground, and then I could paint this watercolour on top of it. So that's a little fjord painting. Right, so Sunday was our first formal night, so this is Jonathan and I having a pre-dinner drink. Jonathan looking very smart in his black tie there. It was so lovely to dress up for dinner. Nobody dresses up for dinner anymore. So again, a little bit of what we did. This page I folded over, and I was a bit annoyed because afterwards I thought instead of cutting all these off I could have folded them over and made some more pockets, but you live and learn. And then I put these little photographs in, so again printed on my little mini printer there, stuck onto the cardie paper. And that was a beautiful sunset one night, and I think this one is Hardanger Fjord, which is a World UNESCO Heritage Site, I believe. And I can just put those in the little pockets there, and I've got some little photographs to look at. Back we go again. So a slightly different version of a fjord. This time I'd seen this style done something on Instagram, and I thought, oh, that'd be really interesting to try. So this isn't a particular fjord that we went down, but it was just something I wanted to try with some mountains, and then I drew the patterns in with a pen. This is on a bit of paper. This is actually parchment paper, I think, that I stuck in. So this is a bit thicker, and we'll take some paint, and then I painted in the colours on that one. Cruise bingo. What were we going to see on the cruise ship? What didn't we see? We didn't see the captain. We had chances to see the captain, but we didn't. We would do something else instead. I wanted to see a stave church, which is a traditional Norwegian church, very, very old wooden church, but we didn't really go inland enough to see any of those. But we did see some seabirds, which I'll talk about later because they were absolutely amazing. Driftwood train, seagulls. So I just made a little list of all the things that we saw. Some colour swatches. So again, I've marked aqua ground. So I drew these little squares before I left, and I've painted each square with the aqua ground, and then I put some paint on to get the colours of the fjord water, mountain and fjord colours. I've put with fjord water. So this was Jonathan's idea. I have to credit him because he will never let me forget it if I don't. I filled up my little water brush with some water from the actual fjords, and I painted with that. And I like to think that it improved my painting. I don't know if it did, but I like to think it did. Ginger cat's just come in. Hello, matey. What can we do for you? Look, I'm trying to show everybody my sketchbook, so if you don't mind, you can sit over there. Right, sit there and enjoy the view. Right, where was I? Okay, colour swatches. Right, this is interesting. The Marius sweater. Anyone who's been to Norway will have come across this. It's absolutely everywhere. And it's beautiful. And it's a particular knitting pattern that they do in all their sweaters. And Marius was Marius Eriksson. So he was a World War II fighter pilot. And then he became an actor, as you do. He survived being a fighter pilot, became an actor. This is him here. He's looking very handsome in his Marius sweater, named after him, and it's a very particular pattern in his very particular colours. And I actually drew all that by hand, and it was very meditative. Actually, I really enjoyed doing that pattern. Could have just printed it off, but that pattern was everywhere, so I thought I wanted a little record of the Marius sweater. Let's just move this over a bit so it's out Ginger Cat's shadow. So a little map of where we went. I usually like to put one of these in my sketchbook. Norway, obviously Sweden. It looks a bit weird sitting on its own, and we just came into the bottom here and we went sort of about a third of the way up. My map's very accurate, so again aqua ground, I've just marked it that I painted it. No, matey, busy, come out. So Monday in Eidfjord, and I like to put a little picture up, as I mentioned, for each day. So this was some yarn bombing that they did on the tree. Loads of trees along the front. These beautiful patterns on. I've stuck some tickets in. This is some little troll train. Everything's got trolls on it. So this is a little troll train, went around the village and up into the mountains and past the Viking burial settlement, which didn't look much but was quite amazing actually. And some jump to Bergen to keep up, jump around a little bit, and this is not in order. And I was really taken with the colour of the buildings in Bergen, and I didn't take my painting stuff into the city with me. We went and climbed up the mountain, Mount Floyen, but we did have a little discussion on the way back down. We sat on a bench and said, what do you think the colours are? And we talked about the colours between us, and when I got back I was able to recreate those, and just on these little pieces of the cardie paper, and I drew some little buildings on it just to represent some Norwegian buildings, and then these are the colours of the buildings, so that was quite a nice little reference there. This was a beautiful little street that we walked up when we came back down from Mount Floyen. It comes back down through the houses into the city, and there's these amazing little pathways and steps up, and it's a very steep hill on the way down and on the way up on the way down, and I did a nice little drawing of that. Enjoyed just doing some pen work on that one. Now we jump to the ship. So this is a room on the ship we were on called the Botanical Room, and they've just done it up and it's absolutely beautiful. It's got big sofas in it and plants everywhere and tables with botanical books on it, and you could just sit there and looking out on the windows, looking out at the sea, and you could read your book, and they'd bring you a drink if you wanted it, and there were some blankets if you were a bit chilly and you wanted to wrap up, and it was wonderful. And they had these little things on the wall, these little picture frames with some sort of bits of wood and some plants in them, and they were really beautiful, and I thought I'd have a go at painting them, and then I took a picture as well just for reference. So that was the Botanical Room. This is, I should have practiced this before I said it, Norwegian Fjord. Sorry if you're Norwegian and I got that wrong. So again, aqua ground on the surface, but this one I've got a little bit of a paper doily on it. I don't know if you can see that there. And this little pattern under there, and I stuck that to the surface before I left, and then I put the aqua ground over the top and painted on top, and it's put a really nice little texture in the book, so that came out quite well. Another little record of our day. So that was the day we went to Bergen. That was the view of Bergen from the top of Mount Floyen. Some colour swatches. So the sunset over the North Sea, which is actually, if I can find my little pictures, those colours, loads of different colours, just capture colours. I didn't want to paint the sunset particularly, I've got a nice picture of it, but I thought we'd just capture the colours. That's a really nice little study of the sunset colours, and the further north we went the lighter it was, and it didn't eventually get dark till about 11 at night, so lots and lots of daylight, which was really wonderful. So Wednesday we're in Garanga. This is Seven Sisters waterfall, beautiful big waterfall on the way back. This little bit of paper is a bit of packaging that I had, which makes quite a nice little envelope, so I put another troll on it. Trolls everywhere. and a little photograph from the Oriental Tea Room. Really beautiful. Look at these amazing photographs on the walls of these birds. Beautiful. And a little doily there, signify it's tea room. Didn't actually have a tea in there. We just didn't have enough time to do everything. So we did we didn't do a couple of trips. We did one trip, which was to the Trollstigen and Trollveggen, which is the troll wall and the troll ladder. Got to get it right. The troll. Have a look at the back of my book. The Trollstigen is the road, is the ladder, and the Trollveggen is the wall. It's a very famous rock climbing wall that we couldn't see because it was in the cloud, which Jonathan was disappointed about because he'd seen it when he was a little lad and wanted to go back and experience again, but the cloud was really low and raining. And then the Trollveggen, did I get that right? No, the Trollveggen is the wall, the Trollstigen is the road, amazing winding road with 11 hairpin bends, and that was awesome to go up there, even if the weather was rubbish. That was really amazing. So I've just put the tickets in from the trip there, Norwegian flag on it. This is some words that just reminded me of the holiday. It's all very nice to take photographs all the time, but sometimes it doesn't capture necessarily the feeling of a place. So tumbling water, twisted roads, scenic, gannets. We'll get to the gannets. Seal, we saw a little seal in the sea on the way back. And colours in there, turquoise, mountain goats, views, green, fresh, clean, awe-inspiring, timeless. So lots of descriptive words there to help me remember. Trolls. More trolls. These ones were really cheesy, touristy trolls, but I thought they were great to draw. So I've drawn a couple of them here, and they were kind of on at the campsites and the spots where the touristy shops are. But they're a lot of fun, and, you know, may as well milk it if you've got it. So some fun drawings of some of the trolls there. Really great to draw. I got a little piece in here. Not sure why that ended up being a little piece. Just a photograph of Ide Fjord in there. So Friday, it's on the way home, even though we've got half a sketchbook to go. And these were the gannets, and we were sitting in the observatory looking out ahead just at the North Sea at nothing, just sort of contemplating our lovely holiday. And these gannets were flying along with us, and they were in front of us, and they were well over an hour. They flew in front of us, and it was like they were leading us home, going, this is the way home. And they were really beautiful. So I've just done a tiny little pen sketch of the gannets, but as soon as I see that pen sketch, I'm like, oh, that was the gannets leading us home. And we had a special dinner on the last night as well, and had some amazing food in one of the restaurants on board. So jumping around a bit, so another little scene of the fjords and the mountains, just playing with some ideas here, not doing anything in particular. This is all watercolour paint, by the way. Right, so I did do some slow stitching when I got back, and what I can actually do is unattach this, detach it, and I've got these little Velcro dots they stick on. I've got the two sides there, and I put it in the book, and I thought I can just take it out, and I've got this as a nice textile, and I can fasten it back in if I wanted to. And I've done a little fjord, a little slow stitch Norwegian fjord, so just layered up some fabrics. Got loads of videos on slow stitching on the embroidery channel, so if you're interested in this, then do check that out over there. Got a few more I can show you at the end as well from those videos, and just layered it up and did a little bit of stitching on there, and got a nice impression of the fjords in stitch, which is really nice to do because stitching is what I do. So I like to paint, and that gives me some ideas, and I can use the paintings to inform my stitching. So I didn't do that when I was there, I did that when I came back, but I knew that I wanted to do that, so I had some ideas that was going round about what can I do. That sticks back in there. A little tea bag from the restaurant. Funny little troll again. This one was so sweet. Now I know what he's made of. I'm not sure what's going on there, but he was on the mountain walk back down from Mount Floyen in Bergen. It's got a little picture of him and a little bit of information about trolls. They dwell in isolated areas of rocks, mountains or caves. They live together in small family units and are rarely helpful to human beings. So I had to record the trolls. So this is an interesting landscape here that I have painted. So leaving Norway, it was getting dark, sun was gone down, the colours all disappear, it goes very blue and sort of quite misty, so no colour in this one, and just an idea of those layers of the hills getting more distance as we were leaving the land and leaving Norway behind. little view from the cabin with a little square window. It didn't quite look like that, and we didn't have net curtains either, but I just thought that gave a good impression of some curtains. And we had this beautiful view of the mountains. This is a little mountain goat. He was a stuffed one in a shop. They quite like the stuffed animals in Norway, so if you don't really like that kind of thing, look out for that. But he was rather magnificent. Standing up there, so that's my little painting of a mountain goat. Cruise cuisine. I had an idea that I would record everything we ate, but we ate so much. It was all so nice I couldn't remember everything. But this is a good sample of what we had on board, which is quite a nice record. And then this super duper painting. Put a bit of effort into this one. I did this one when I got home as well. And this is us leaving Geiranger Fjord, and you can just see the wake from the ship. These two little lines is the wake from the ship. We've come out from behind here and we're going down here. And you can pile quite a lot of paint onto this aqua ground. This is again doubled over, stuck two together to give me a bit of a harder surface to work on, a little bit more solid. And use my watercolour paints and put quite a lot of paint on it. It takes it really well, so quite enjoyed doing that little painting of one of the fjords. And then when you leave the ship, they give you a little ship's log. This was off a scarf I bought. You can stick all sorts of things in. Little cruise log. Some specifications for the ship that we were on. And then where we went every day. What the air temperature was, the sea temperature, how fast the wind was. It's quite interesting to know. And a little bit of statistics on the back, which were fascinating. So galley team of 82 people, and the ship wasn't quite full. I think we were about 1,100, and it takes 1,300. So between us we got through 14,360 fresh eggs. I think it's amazing, the logistics of these things, and it's absolutely seamless as well. You don't see any of this going on. It's quite hard to get a banana some days, but so I thought the statistics are really good, so put that in as well. And then at the back I've just got some of my luggage labels, again in one of those little folders. And then I've got some postcards. So here's the Trollstigen. This is this amazing road. It did not look like this when we were there. We couldn't see it. And we came up this little road here. And we stopped here for a view up the mountain, and we wiggle all the way around here. Stunning road. We will go back and do this either on a cruise, or we'd like to get on our motorbike and jump on a motorbike one day when we can get to Norway. That's the little card they give you with their ships on it. And they found these lovely postcards of these troll paintings, which I thought were really beautiful, and I put those in. And there was a couple of maps. There's Eidfjord, a couple of those as well in the back, and I've just put some little ties in there to keep that all in. So really lovely record of our holiday and our time there. Really enjoyed making this and finishing it off, but I thought, yeah, it doesn't look great, does it, just with the brown cover, so I thought I'll make a cover for it. So this is the cover, so a little bit of slow stitching, colours based on the colours that I had been seeing throughout our cruise. They've come into quite a lot of my work at the moment, these colours, really beautiful turquoises and blues and whites in the sea and in the fjord and in the skies as well. And I've just made myself a little cover, so it was just a long piece of calico, stitched it all through the calico, laid some fabrics on top of it, laid a bit of lace on there. There's some beads in here as well. Some stitching, different bits of stitching on it, some more beads there, and then I've just folded the ends in, sewed them either end, and that's my little book cover. And all that does is slip. That's the right way up. I just slipped my cover in there like so, just to finish it off nicely. And then I've got a little bit of silk that I can just tie around it to keep it all together. And finish off my sketchbook. So I was really pleased to actually get this finished. So many times I just come back with sketchbooks with loads of empty pages in it, and of course if there are any empty pages in a book with a spiral bound, you can rip them out and nobody will ever know. Now I want to show you a couple more things. I'm going to show you a few more slow stitchings that was inspired by the landscapes in Norway, and then something else that I found on my way that I have turned into a piece of art. So these pieces are in that video on the other channel. If you're interested in this, do go and check them out. But I just wanted to show them quickly, just to show how inspiration can come into your work and into stitching in my case. So this was the first one I did, little landscape with some water. Decided it needed a sheep on it. This is the one that I did in the actual video. Got this beautiful sparkly braid for the water, and although this doesn't look like a Norwegian house, they have lots of little dwellings on islands, loads and loads of islands, thousands of islands in Norway, and a lot of them had a little dwelling on it with no apparent way to get to it either. So I don't know who lived on them and how often they went there, but I thought it needed a little house on it and some mountains and some clouds in the sky. So I had a lot of fun with these. That was a very simple one that I did, which needs a little bit more work on it to finish it off. And then I did this one. So I knew I wanted to do one before I went. I thought I really want to do a slow stitch landscape, and so I had that in my mind while I was there and looking at what can I do, and took some photographs for it and used a photograph as the image to work this from, and made this piece, which was a little bit more involved. So it's got the mountains and the water in here, which I've layered some fabrics up, so it's got that nice watery sheen. A little bit of lace for the edge for the water lapping at the edge of the shore. This was kind of a little path that went across into the water. Got some pearls on there as rocks, and I'll just show you the backs and all the stitching on the back there. So quite a little bit of stitching in that one. But I just thought that was interesting, just to show you those and what you can do with this inspiration that you get and these ideas, and you can turn them into something, and it's nice. It sort of completes the journey in a way. You go through all of that, think, what can I make out of this? And got these little mementos. But I just want to show you one more thing, which is this. So I actually found some objects. I like to do a little bit of foraging, a little bit of beach combing, and I thought there could be nothing in Norway. I'm not going to find anything. This place is immaculate. There's not a bit of rubbish anywhere. But if you root around a little bit, you find some really interesting objects, as you can see. So there's a little bit of kind of metal rope, I guess, from a ship. There was lots of boats, obviously, on the fjords, water everywhere in Norway. Everybody's got a boat. So I found that amongst the pebbles, a little bit of seaweed as well, some driftwood, and a little rusty washer. Hope it wasn't important. Whatever that came off. And then we went to walk up the waterfall, and I found somebody's belt buckle. So somebody's walking around with their trousers around their ankles. Just really random things to find. And then this little bit of glass, little bit of sea glass, I actually found when we got back home, and we arrived back in Newcastle, and we thought we'll go and have breakfast. We got there quite early. We thought we'll go and have breakfast on the beach, and we went down to the beach, and I found this little bit of sea glass. But I quite like the fact that I found this at this end, and these are the things at the other end of the same bit of sea, so the North Sea, and I found that there and the other bits there, and it sort of connects them together. So I thought I'll put it on the same thing to show the whole journey. And I just thought, how can I display these little items? And I've sewn them to a little bit of fabric that I've made, a little bit of canvas, and I've actually painted, you can't see it that well, but behind it is a little kind of map of the fjord where I found a few of these items. You can just see the blue water there behind it, just to give it a bit of a background, and I've sewn them on with some gold thread and put it in a frame. I have got a piece of glass that can go over it, but I left that out so it doesn't reflect onto the camera. So I've just made a little sort of scene of the things that I found, so another reminder of the trip, and it might not mean anything to anybody else or look particularly beautiful, but it's quite an interesting set of objects that I actually got from my holiday. So we had such a good holiday, we rushed home and booked another one. We thought we would try a river cruise, which we're going on in a few weeks' time. So I'm going to do the same thing for the river cruise. And for some reason, I've gone a bit smaller this time. So I've got another one of these books, and I've cut it up. That was the original size, and I've cut it a bit smaller this time. I don't know if it's psychological, but the boat we're going on is much, much smaller than the cruise ship, so I've gone down a size, book size. Don't know if that's relevant or not, but I thought I'll just do a little one and I'll prepare it again. So I've just cut that one down to size, and I've glued every page to the next page, so I've halved the number of pages, and I've got nice stiff pages on it, and I haven't really done much in it yet. I've made a couple of little pockets in there so far, and that's as far as I've got. So I will do some more preparation taking what I've learned from my Norwegian one, and I'll make a little cover for it as well. So if you come back in a couple of months' time, I might have finished that one. I might not, but I might finish that one. That's the intention anyway. So if you do want to go away and record your holiday and record your travels, this is a really good way of doing it, and just think about it beforehand and do a little bit of preparation, and it's much easier to do. So I hope you found that interesting. Thank you for indulging me on my holiday, and I hope you've enjoyed my sketchbook. If you're interested to see more, do let me know. And if you're interested in the covers that I made for it and in making your own embroidered book covers, then do check out this video coming up now. Hope you enjoy that one. I'll see you over there. If you've enjoyed it, give it a thumbs up, and I'll see you next time.